gentle dreamer, to a place where the world grows soft and quiet. Tonight, let the weight of the day slip from your shoulders like sand sliding through your fingers. Let your breathing find its natural rhythm, slow, deep, effortless, as the evening wraps itself around you in layers of peace. The stars are beginning to appear in the deepening sky, one by one, like tiny lanterns being lit by invisible hands. Each breath you take is a gentle wave, washing away the noise and the hurry, leaving only stillness. Tonight's story comes from ancient shores, whispered across centuries by sailors who watched the moon paint silver paths across dark waters. It is a tale of cities that once stood proud beneath open skies, of kingdoms that now sleep beneath endless blue, and of how beauty can be found in the most unexpected places. It speaks of transformation, of letting go, and of how sometimes what is lost becomes something even more wondrous. Let yourself settle deeply into this moment. Feel the softness beneath you, supporting you completely. Notice how your body naturally knows how to rest, how each muscle can release its holding, how your breath flows in and out without any effort at all. The world outside grows distant and dreamlike, and here, in this peaceful space, there is only the story, only the gentle sound of words carrying you towards sleep. Long ago, when the world was younger and the seas were filled with mysteries yet undiscovered, there was a magnificent city called Lysandria. It stood upon a rocky peninsula that jutted out into the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea, its white marble buildings gleaming like pearls in the golden sunlight. The city was home to people who loved beauty and learning, who built libraries filled with scrolls, gardens bursting with flowers, and temples that seemed to touch the sky. The people of Lysandria were proud of their city, and they had every reason to be. Their harbor welcomed ships from distant lands, bringing spices that perfumed the air, silks that shimmered like water, and stories that sparked the imagination. Musicians played in the squares, their melodies floating on the warm breeze. Children laughed as they ran through streets lined with olive trees and fountains that sparkled in the sun. Artists painted murals on walls, capturing scenes of dolphins leaping and birds soaring. Scholars debated philosophy in cool marble halls, their voices echoing with wisdom and wonder. At the heart of Lysandria stood the Palace of the Pearl, so named because its central dome was covered in mother-of-pearl that caught the light and scattered it into 1,000 rainbows. The palace was home to King Theron, a wise and gentle ruler who loved his people and his city with all his heart. He would walk through the streets each morning, greeting merchants and children alike, listening to their concerns, celebrating their joys. His daughter, Princess Callista, was beloved throughout the land for her kindness and her fascination with the sea. Callista spent her days exploring the rocky shores beyond the city walls, collecting shells and watching the waves. She had a special gift. She could hold a shell to her ear and hear not just the ocean's roar, but something deeper, something like a song. The fishermen said she had the heart of a sea maiden, and they were not far from wrong. She would sit for hours on the cliffs, her dark hair streaming in the wind, her eyes fixed on the horizon where the water met the sky. "What do you hear, princess?" the fishermen would ask when they saw her lost in contemplation. "I hear stories," she would reply softly. "Stories of places beneath the waves, of gardens made of coral, of palaces built from shells and adorned with pearls. I hear songs sung by creatures we cannot see, in languages we cannot speak. The sea has secrets, and sometimes, in the quiet moments, it shares them with me." The fishermen would smile and shake their heads, touched by her wonder, but they did not truly understand. They saw the sea as a place of fish and storms, of practical matters and hard work. But Callista saw something more. She saw magic, mystery, and an endless invitation to dream. Let your own breathing slow, gentle listener. Feel how naturally the air flows in and out, like waves upon a shore. Each breath is a small journey, traveling in, traveling out, carrying away any tension, any worry, any need to be anywhere but here, in this peaceful moment, listening to this tale that unfolds as gently as a flower opening to the morning sun. One summer evening, as the sun began its slow descent toward the western horizon, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold and lavender, Princess Callista walked along the shore. The water was calm, barely a ripple disturbing its glassy surface. The air was warm and soft, carrying the scent of salt and jasmine from the gardens above the cliffs. Seabirds called to one another in their evening song, their cries both lonely and beautiful. Callista found her favorite spot, a large, flat rock that extended out over the water like a natural pier. She sat down, letting her bare feet dangle above the gentle waves, and closed her eyes. She breathed in the sea air, feeling it fill her lungs with its freshness, feeling the last warmth of the day on her skin. This was her time of peace, her time of connection with something larger than herself. As she sat in this stillness, she began to hear it, the song. It was faint at first, barely distinguishable from the sound of the waves, but gradually it grew clearer. It was unlike anything she had heard before, haunting and beautiful, filled with longing and love. The melody seemed to rise from the depths themselves, as if the ocean floor had found a voice. Callista opened her eyes and looked down at the water. The surface had changed. Where before had been clear and unremarkable, now it glowed with a soft, silvery light. The light pulsed gently, in time with the song, and as she watched, transfixed, shapes began to form in the luminescence. She saw towers and domes, streets and gardens, all shimmering beneath the waves like a reflection from another world. "What magic is this?" she whispered, her heart beating faster with excitement rather than fear. The vision grew clearer. She could see people moving through the underwater city. Or were they people? They seemed to flow rather than walk, their movements graceful and fluid, their forms both human and something else, something adapted to the sea. They had long, flowing hair that moved like seaweed in a current, and their eyes were large and luminous. Some wore garments that looked like they were woven from water itself, shimmering and translucent. Others were adorned with shells and pearls and strands of coral. The city itself was breathtaking. The buildings were constructed from materials that seemed both ancient and organic. White stone covered in barnacles and sea flowers, towers wrapped in kelp that swayed gently in the current, walls encrusted with colorful corals and sea anemones. Gardens grew between the structures, not of terrestrial plants, but of sea grasses and unusual flora that glowed with their own soft light. Fish swam through the streets like birds through air, darting between columns and around corners, adding flashes of silver and gold to the scene. In the center of the underwater city stood a palace even more magnificent than her father's Palace of the Pearl. It was built from what looked like giant shells, spiraling upward in elegant curves, its surfaces iridescent and ever-changing. Around it, fountains bubbled, fountains underwater, which seemed impossible, yet there they were, creating streams of current that danced and played. The whole scene was bathed in that soft, silvery light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Callista was so mesmerized that she didn't notice the figure approaching her rock until a voice spoke, gentle as a whisper. "You can see it." Breathe deeply now, dear listener. Let the air fill your lungs completely, then release it slowly, so slowly, feeling your body sink a little deeper into comfort with each exhale. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. The story carries you, like a leaf floating on a gentle stream, moving at its own pace, in its own time, toward peaceful shores. Callista turned her head and found herself looking at a young man standing on the rocks beside her. He had appeared without a sound, without a splash, as if he had simply materialized from the air itself. He was unlike anyone she had ever seen. His skin had a faint silvery sheen, like moonlight on water, and his hair was the deep blue-green of the ocean depths. His eyes were the color of sea glass, pale green and luminous, and when he smiled, expression held both sadness and joy. "Who are you?" Callista asked, though she felt no fear. There was something inherently kind about this stranger, something that spoke of gentleness and understanding. "My name is Nereus," he replied. "I am of the city you see below, the city beneath the sea. We call it Thalassia, and it has existed for longer than your Lysandria, though once it too stood in the sunlight." "Stood in the sunlight?" Callista echoed. "You mean your city was above the water once? What happened?" Nereus settled onto the rock beside her, gazing down at the vision in the water with an expression of deep affection. "Thalassia was once the greatest city in all the world," he began, his voice taking on the rhythms of a storyteller. "It was built by my ancestors hundreds of years ago, in a time when magic still flowed freely through the world. The people of Thalassia were gifted with a deep connection to the sea. They understood its rhythms, spoke to its creatures, and built their civilization in harmony with the waves. But," he continued, his voice growing softer, tinged with the weight of old sorrow, "they grew proud. They believed their power made them masters of the ocean rather than its companions. They built walls to keep the sea at bay, thinking they could control its tides. They took from the waters without giving back, harvesting its treasures without respect or gratitude. The sea, patient as it is, finally responded." Callista listened, her eyes wide, her heart open to his words. One night, during the Festival of the Moon, when all of Thalassia was celebrating and the streets were filled with music and laughter, the earth beneath the city trembled. The sea rose, higher than any wave had ever risen before, and it did not recede. Some say it was the anger of the ocean gods. Others say the earth itself had decided to reclaim what the people had forgotten, that all land ultimately belongs to the sea, and the sea to time. "The city sank," Nereus said simply. "In one night, Thalassia slipped beneath the waves. But here is the strange and wondrous part. The people did not perish. Instead, they transformed. The sea, even in its power, was merciful. It changed them, adapted them, gave them the ability to breathe beneath the waves, to live in the depths, to become children of both land and ocean. And so," he concluded, "Thalassia lives still, but in a different form. We who dwell there now are neither wholly human nor wholly creatures of the sea. We are something new, something in between, and we have learned the lesson our ancestors forgot, that we are not separate from the ocean but part of it, connected to every wave, every current, every living thing that swims in its vastness. Let yourself drift now, gentle one," as Callista drifted in that moment, suspended between two worlds. "Feel how your thoughts are slowing, how your body is growing heavy and peaceful, how the boundary between waking and dreaming is becoming softer, more permeable. The story wraps around you like a warm blanket, protecting you, comforting you, carrying you toward rest." Princess Callista was silent for a long moment, absorbing this incredible tale. When she finally spoke, her voice was filled with wonder rather than disbelief. "Why can I see your city when others cannot?" Sluggish, Nereus smiled. "The city reveals itself only to those with hearts open to magic, to those who listen rather than merely hear, who see rather than merely look. You have spent years sitting on these rocks, listening to the sea's songs, honoring the mystery of the depths. The ocean recognizes its own, and you, princess, have the soul of the sea within you." "Will you show me more?" Callista asked, her voice eager. "Can I truly see your world?" "Come to this spot each evening as the sun sets," Nereus replied. "When the light is neither day nor night but something in between, look into the water, and I will be here. I will show you the wonders of Thalassia, the beauty that exists beneath the waves, the life that flourishes in the deep. But," he added, his expression growing serious, "you must tell no one. If others come seeking our city with greedy hearts, the vision will vanish, and Thalassia will hide itself completely, never to be seen again by those above." Callista nodded solemnly. "I promise. This will be our secret, the sea's and mine. And so began a most unusual friendship. Each evening, as the sun painted the western sky and the first stars appeared in the deepening blue above, Princess Callista would slip away from the palace and make her way to her rock by the shore. And each evening, Nereus would be there, and together they would gaze into the glowing waters at the city beneath. He showed her the gardens where sea flowers bloomed in colors that had no names in the language of the land. Violets that pulsed with inner light, corals that sang when currents passed through them, kelp forests that swayed in underwater winds and provided shelter for countless creatures. She saw schools of fish moving in perfect synchronization, creating living patterns that shifted and flowed like liquid silver. She watched sea turtles glide past ancient columns, their wise eyes reflecting centuries of ocean wisdom. Nereus told her of the people of Thalassia, of how they had adapted to their new life. "We no longer measure time as you do," he explained. "The sea has no clocks, no rigid schedules. We flow with the tides, sleep when we are tired, wake when we are rested. Our days are measured by the rhythms of the ocean, the movement of currents, the cycles of the moon, the migrations of the great whales who pass by and share their songs with us." He spoke of their food, gathered from the gardens and the generous sea, algae that tasted like honey, shellfish prepared in ways that retained their delicate flavor, fish that came willingly to feed them, understanding the balance of life and death. "We take only what we need," he said, "and we give thanks for every meal, remembering that we are part of a great web of life where every creature has its place." He described their homes, carved from coral and rock, each unique, each a work of art. "The sea helps us build," he explained. "We work with the currents and the living creatures to shape our dwellings. Coral grows around the structures we create, making them stronger. Sea anemones decorate our walls, glowing at night to provide light. Everything is alive, everything is connected." And as you listen to these descriptions, dear one, feel your own connection to peace, to comfort, to the deep restfulness that lives within you. Your breath continues its gentle rhythm, in and out, like waves on a shore, constant and soothing. Each word of the story is like a soft brush against your consciousness, painting pictures that are vivid yet dreamy, clear yet distant, real yet part of the world of sleep that calls to you. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Summer gave way to autumn, and the evening air grew cooler, but still Callista came to the shore, and still Nereus met her there. Their friendship deepened, and with it, Callista's understanding of the sea and its mysteries grew. She began to see the ocean not as separate from herself, but as part of a larger whole to which she too belonged. Nereus taught her the language of the waves, how to read the patterns of the water, how to understand what the changing colors meant, how to sense the mood of the sea by the way it moved. He taught her the names of creatures she had never known existed, the tiny, glowing jellyfish that created galaxies of light in the dark water, the shy octopi that could change color and shape, the ancient sharks that patrolled the depths with quiet dignity. "The sea is a library," he told her one evening, his voice soft and reverent. "Every creature is a story. Every current carries wisdom. Every depth holds secrets. Those who live on the land forget that most of the world is water, and most of life exists beneath the surface. They think their cities and their kingdoms are all that matters, but the true kingdom, the one that covers most of the earth, is the realm of the sea." Callista felt herself changing through these visits. She became quieter, more contemplative. She moved through her life in Lysandria as if she were dreaming, her mind always partly elsewhere, always partly beneath the waves. Her father noticed the change but did not understand it. He worried that his daughter was unhappy, that she was lonely, but when he asked, she would only smile and say, "I am learning, father. I am learning about things I never knew existed." One evening in late autumn, when the air had grown crisp and the sea had taken on the deep blue-gray color of the colder months. Callista arrived at the shore to find Nereus waiting with an unusual expression on his face, part excitement, part nervousness. "What is it?" she asked, settling onto their rock. "I have been given permission," he said slowly, "to offer you something extraordinary. The elders of Thalassia have been watching our friendship. They see how you honor the sea, how you listen and learn without seeking to possess or control. They see that your heart is true." He paused, and the air seemed to grow still, as if the whole world were holding its breath. "They have given me permission to invite you to visit Thalassia, not to see it from above, but to walk its streets, to swim through its gardens, to truly experience life beneath the waves." Callista's heart leaped. "But how? I cannot breathe underwater. I would—" "The transformation," Nereus interrupted gently, "would be temporary. There is an ancient magic, a gift from the sea itself, that can change you for a short time, allowing you to breathe as we do, to move as we do. You would spend one full cycle of the moon in Thalassia, from one new moon to the next. Then you would return to your life on land, unchanged except for the memories you carry. But," he added seriously, "you must understand what this means. For that entire moon cycle, you will be unable to return to the surface. You will live as we live, completely beneath the waves. Your family will not know where you are. They will worry, and when you return, you will find that more time has passed for them than for you. The sea has its own time, and it does not match the time of the land." Callista looked down at the glowing city beneath the waves. She thought of her father, of the palace, of the life she knew. She thought of the worry her absence would cause, the questions it would raise. But she also thought of the extraordinary opportunity before her, the chance to experience something no other person of her world had ever known, to truly understand the mystery that had called to her since childhood. Rest now, gentle listener, as Callista rested in that moment of decision. Let your muscles release their holding. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. There is a deep wisdom in your body that knows how to let go, how to surrender to rest, how to trust in the safety of this moment. The story continues to flow, and you continue to drift, moving closer and closer to the shores of sleep. "I will go," Callista said quietly. "I trust the sea, and I trust you. Whatever time is required, whatever worries arise, I know in my heart that this is something I must do." Nereus nodded, respect and happiness mingling in his expression. "Come tomorrow night then, when the moon is new and the tide is high. Come alone, and be ready to leave your old life behind, just for a little while, and embrace a new one. Blessings." That night, Callista returned to the palace and went to her chambers. She sat at her desk and wrote a letter to her father, pouring her heart onto the parchment. "Dearest father, I have gone to explore a mystery that has called to me all my life. Do not fear for me. I am safe, and I am pursuing something important, something that will help me understand who I am and what my purpose might be. I cannot explain more than this, but please trust that I will return to you. Keep the city safe, keep the people happy, and know that I carry you in my heart wherever I go. Your loving daughter, Callista." She sealed the letter and left it on her pillow where it would be found in the morning. Then she dressed in simple clothes, took nothing but a small shell she had carried since childhood, and slipped out of the palace as quietly as a shadow. The night was dark, the new moon invisible in the sky, but the stars provided enough light for her to find her way to the shore. Nereus was already there, standing at the water's edge, and with him were two other figures, an elderly woman with hair the color of sea foam, and a young girl who looked no more than 10 years old, though her eyes held the wisdom of ages. "This is Maris," Nereus said, gesturing to the woman, "and this is Coraline. They are here to perform the transformation." The two approached Callista, and Maris spoke in a voice that sounded like water over stones, smooth and musical. "Child of the land, are you certain of your choice? Once begun, the transformation cannot be reversed until the full cycle is complete. I am certain, Callista replied, and her voice was steady. Maris and Coraline joined hands and began to sing. The song had no words, only tones that rose and fell like waves, harmonizing with the sound of the sea itself. As they sang, the water began to glow, and the light spread from the shore to where Callista stood. She felt warmth envelop her, gentle and comforting, and then a sensation unlike anything she had experienced before. Her lungs began to change, not painfully but strangely, as if they were expanding and adapting. She felt gills open along her neck, delicate and functional. Her legs began to tingle, and when she looked down, she saw that her skin had taken on a faint luminescence, similar to Nereus's. Her hair seemed to grow lighter, floating around her face as if she were already underwater. Her eyes adjusted, able to see clearly in the darkness, picking up colors and details she had never noticed before. Come, Nereus said, extending his hand. Welcome to the sea. Breathe deeply, dear one. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle expansion and contraction, the life-giving rhythm that continues without thought, without effort. You are held and supported, safe and protected. The world of dreams is drawing near, its borders soft and welcoming, and you move toward it naturally, easily, like coming home. Callista took Nereus's hand, and together they walked into the water. The sensation was incredible. The cool embrace of the sea, the weightlessness, the sudden freedom of movement in 3 dimensions rather than 2. She expected to gasp for air, to panic, but instead, she found herself breathing easily, drawing water through her gills in a rhythm that felt as natural as her terrestrial breathing had always been. They dove beneath the surface, and the glowing city that she had only seen from above now surrounded her. It was even more magnificent than she had imagined. The scale was breathtaking, towers that reached upward toward the distant, shimmering surface, streets that wound between structures in organic patterns, gardens that sprawled across vast spaces, filled with life and color and movement. Fish swam past her, unafraid, some even pausing to regard her with curious eyes before darting away. A sea turtle glided by, ancient and serene, nodding as if in greeting. A pod of dolphins appeared from the distance, clicking and whistling, and one swam close to Callista, its intelligent eye studying her before it spun away in a graceful spiral. Nereus led her through the streets, and as they moved, people emerged from their homes and gathering places to see the visitor. They smiled and waved, their movements fluid and graceful. Some called out greetings in voices that carried clearly through the water. Others simply bowed their heads in welcome. Callista had expected to feel like an outsider, but instead, she felt embraced, accepted, as if she had always belonged here. They came to the great palace she had seen from above, the palace of spiraling shells. Up close, it was even more extraordinary, each shell surface carved with intricate patterns, each curve perfect and natural. Nereus led her inside, through chambers that glowed with bioluminescent creatures, past walls covered in living art, coral formations that had been gently shaped over years into beautiful sculptures, anemones that created moving tapestries of color. Flooring, in the central chamber, on a throne made from a single enormous conch shell, sat the king of Thalassia. He was ancient, his hair white as sea foam, his skin bearing the patterns of a lifetime beneath the waves, delicate, scale-like markings that shimmered when he moved. His eyes, however, were young, filled with warmth and wisdom. "Welcome, Princess Callista of Lysandria," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "We are honored by your visit. Few from the surface world have ever been granted the privilege of seeing our city, and none in many generations have been invited to dwell among us. You are here because you have shown reverence for the sea, and the sea has chosen to reveal itself to you. May your time with us bring you joy and understanding." Callista bowed, words failing her in the face of such grandeur and kindness. The king smiled and gestured to Nereus. Show her our world, teach her our ways, and may this exchange bring our two realms closer together in spirit. Of Callista's life. Each day, though day and night were harder to distinguish beneath the waves, brought new wonders, new lessons, new beauties to discover. Let your own mind drift now through these wonders, gentle listener, as Callista drifted through the streets of Thalassia, moving easily, breathing peacefully, held and supported by the water, just as you are held and supported now in this moment of rest. Nereus introduced her to the daily rhythms of life in the sunken city. She learned that the people of Thalassia rose with the changing of the currents, which they felt as keenly as land dwellers felt the sun's rising. They gathered in the morning in a great square where the current was strongest, and they would swim against it, letting it massage their bodies and invigorate their spirits. It was their form of waking, of greeting the new day. She learned their form of cooking, which involved no fire but instead used the heat from thermal vents deep below the city, natural springs of warmth that bubbled up from the earth's core. Food was prepared in containers made from shells, seasoned with minerals from the rocks and herbs that grew in the underwater gardens. The meals were simple but flavorful, and always they were taken together, the whole community gathering to share not just food, but stories, songs, and laughter. Disillusion where children learned the history of Thalassia, the names of the creatures they shared the sea with, and the arts of working with coral and shell to create beautiful objects. The teaching method was gentle, encouraging exploration and curiosity rather than rote memorization. The children were free to swim off and investigate something that caught their interest, always knowing they could return to the lesson when they were ready. She visited their workshops, where artisans created incredible works, jewelry made from pearls and sea glass, sculptures carved from coral, only pieces that had died naturally, never living coral, fabrics woven from sea silk produced by certain mollusks. Each item was created with patience and care, with respect for the materials and their origins. She explored the gardens, vast spaces where seagrasses grew in flowing meadows, where coral formations created forests of shape and color, where creatures both large and small made their homes. She learned the names of so many species, the brittle stars that moved across the sand in intricate patterns, the nudibranchs that looked like living flowers, the mantis shrimp with their powerful claws and their eyes that could see colors humans couldn't even imagine. One day, Nereus took her beyond the city to where the continental shelf dropped away into the deep. They floated at the edge, looking down into the blue-black depths where few creatures of Thalassia ventured. "This is the realm of the ancient ones," Nereus said quietly. "The giant, squid, the anglerfish, the creatures that have adapted to crushing pressure and complete darkness. We respect their domain, and they respect ours. The sea is vast enough for all." As they hovered there, a shape emerged from the depths, a whale, massive beyond comprehension, its body longer than the largest ship Callista had ever seen. It rose slowly, majestically, and as it passed them, it made a sound, a song that resonated through Callista's entire body, a sound that was felt more than heard. The whale's eye, as large as a dinner plate, regarded them with what seemed like gentle curiosity before the creature continued its ascent toward the distant surface. Callista felt tears in her eyes, or what would have been tears on land. Here they simply mixed with the sea. She had never felt so small and yet so connected, so insignificant and yet so much a part of something infinitely large and beautiful. Let that feeling wash over you now, dear listener. The feeling of being connected to something vast and peaceful, something larger than yourself, yet intimately close. Your body is growing heavier, sinking deeper into comfort. Your thoughts are slowing, becoming dreamlike and distant. The boundary between the story and your own dreams is dissolving, and you float in that peaceful in-between place, safe and warm. The days passed, though Callista lost track of how many. Time in Thalassia was different, measured not by the movement of the sun, but by the tides, the currents, the cycles of the moon reflected in the changing patterns of light that filtered down from above. She stopped thinking of herself as a visitor and began to feel like a resident, a part of the community. She formed friendships with the people of Thalassia. There was Marina, a young woman close to her own age, who taught her how to weave sea silk and shared stories of her own transformation. She had been born on land but had chosen, as an adult, to make the permanent transformation and join the underwater city. "I felt the call of the sea all my life," Marina explained. "I knew I didn't belong on land. Here, I found my true home." There was old Pazin, a craftsman who carved shells, who taught her patience and the art of listening to the material before shaping it. "The shell knows what it wants to become," he said, his gnarled hands moving with surprising grace. "Our job is not to impose our will, but to help it reveal its true nature." There was young Finn, a child no more than 7, who adopted Callista as his friend and guide, taking her to his favorite spots. A cave where the bioluminescent algae created a ceiling of stars, a rock formation that amplified sound in strange and beautiful ways, a current that would carry you in a spiraling loop if you caught it just right. Through these friendships, Callista came to understand what Nereus had meant when he said they had learned the lesson their ancestors forgot. The people of Thalassia lived in harmony with their environment. They took no more than they needed. They gave thanks for what they received. They understood that they were part of a web of life, not separate from it or above it. They held celebrations, too, festivals that marked the full moon, the migration of certain fish species, the blooming of particular sea flowers. These celebrations involved everyone gathering in the great square, swimming in patterns that created living art, singing songs that harmonized with the sounds of the sea itself. There was dancing, if it could be called that, movements through the water that were part swimming, part flying, entirely beautiful. One evening, or was it morning, Callista found herself alone in one of the gardens, floating among the sea grasses, watching them sway in the current. She thought about her life on land, about her father and the palace, and the city she had known all her life. It seemed so far away now, like a dream she had once had, pleasant but distant. Pagamento something profound in that moment. She had spent her whole life living on the edge between two worlds, always drawn to the sea, always listening to its call, never quite belonging to the land. Here, beneath the waves, she had found a sense of belonging she had never known before. The thought both thrilled and frightened her. When the moon cycle was complete, when the transformation ended and she returned to the surface, how would she bear it? Unborn your own breathing now, gentle one. How slow it has become, how deep and peaceful. Each exhale releases you further into rest. Each inhale draws in peace and calm. The story continues, soft as a whisper, carrying you along like a current, gentle and inevitable, toward the shores of sleep. As the cycle of the moon drew toward its close, Callista became aware of a subtle change in her body. The transformation was beginning to reverse. Her gills tingled, her skin began to lose its luminescence, her movements through the water became slightly less fluid. Nereus noticed too and came to find her. "It is time," he said gently. "Tomorrow night, when the new moon rises, you must return to the surface. The magic will complete its cycle, and you will be yourself again, breathing air, walking on land." Callista nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. They swam together through the city one last time, visiting all her favorite places, saying goodbye to the friends she had made. The people of Thalassia gathered in the great square to bid her farewell, and the king himself came to speak with her. "You have been a blessing to our city," he said, his ancient eyes kind. "You have honored us with your presence, your curiosity, and your respect. You leave us changed, and I hope we have changed you as well. Carry our stories with you, Princess Callista. Remember that the sea is always here, always singing, always welcoming those who approach with open hearts." That night, As the hour of transformation approached, Callista and Nereus swam to the edge of the city, to a place where the sandy bottom began to slope upward toward the rocky coast. Above them, the surface shimmered, a distant membrane between two worlds. "I don't want to leave," Callista said, the words finally breaking free. "I have been happier here than I have ever been. This place, these people, they feel more like home than the world I came from." Nereus took her hands. "I know," he said softly, "and you will carry this home with you always. The sea does not leave you just because you leave the sea. You will hear its songs on the wind. You will see its colors in the sky. You will feel its presence in your heart. And if you ever need to remember, all you have to do is return to your rock, listen to the waves, and we will be here." "Will I see you again?" she asked. "Always," he promised. "When the sun sets and the light is neither day nor night, come to the shore. I will be there, and we will watch the city together, and talk, and remember." Foreground around them began to glow with the same silvery light that had surrounded her on the night of transformation. Maris and Coraline appeared, swimming up from the depths, and they began their wordless song. The current strengthened, pushing Callista upward, and though she wanted to resist, though she wanted to stay, her body responded to the magic, rising toward the surface. Her gills began to close, her lungs expanding back to their original form. Her skin lost its shimmer. Her hair returned to its natural weight. She broke through the surface of the water, gasping, not from lack of air, but from the emotional weight of the transition. She was breathing air again, her head above water, the night sky spread above her filled with stars. She swam to the shore and pulled herself onto her familiar rock, water streaming from her hair and clothes. She looked back at the sea, and for a moment she could still see it, Thalassia glowing beneath the waves. She saw Nereus standing in one of the squares, his hand raised in farewell. Then the vision faded, the glow dimmed, and there was only dark water and the sound of waves against stone. And in this moment of transition, you too are transitioning, dear listener, moving from the world of waking to the world of dreams, from the active mind to the resting mind. Let yourself make this journey as Callista made hers, with acceptance, with peace, with trust that what awaits you is good and restorative. Your breath continues its rhythm, your body continues its relaxation, and sleep draws near. Callista walked slowly back to the city, to the palace, her legs unsteady after so long swimming. The guards at the gate were startled to see her. Word had spread of her disappearance, and search parties had been sent out, though none had found any trace of her. They called for the king, and within moments, her father came running, his face a mixture of relief and confusion and joy. "Callista!" he cried, embracing her tightly. "Where have you been? It's been nearly 3 months. We searched everywhere, He pulled back, studying her face. "You're different. What happened to you?" 3 months. She had been gone for one cycle of the moon in Thalassia, but here in the world above, far more time had passed. Just as Nereus had warned, the sea had its own time. "I went on a journey, father," she said softly. "A journey I needed to make. I cannot explain it in a way you would understand, but I am safe, and I am well, and I have learned things I needed to learn." King Theron searched her eyes and saw something there, a depth, a wisdom, a peace that had not been there before. He did not press for more details. He simply held his daughter, grateful to have her home. In the days and weeks that followed, Callista resumed her life in Lysandria, but she was indeed changed. She moved through the palace with a new grace, spoke with a new thoughtfulness. She spent hours by the shore, gazing out at the water, and those who saw her said she seemed to be listening to something they could not hear. She used what she had learned in Thalassia to help her people. She introduced new ways of fishing that were more sustainable, methods that took only what was needed and allowed the fish populations to replenish. She encouraged the creation of gardens that used less water, that worked with nature rather than against it. She spoke of the importance of respecting the sea, of understanding that humans were part of a larger web of life. Some thought her odd, touched by some strange experience they could not understand. But others listened, and slowly, Lysandria began to change, to become a city more in harmony with the ocean that sustained it. And every evening, as the sun set and the light turned golden and soft, Princess Callista would make her way to a rock by the shore. She would sit and gaze into the water, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the silvery glow would appear, and she would see the streets and towers of Thalassia beneath the waves. And Nereus would be there, visible in that in-between light, and they would sit together in comfortable silence, two friends sharing the boundary between two worlds, each belonging to both and to neither, each carrying the other in their heart. The years passed in Lysandria, seasons turning one into another, the rhythm of life continuing. King Theron grew older and eventually passed the crown to Callista, who ruled with wisdom and compassion. She never married, though many suitors came seeking her hand. She would smile and politely decline, saying that her heart belonged to the sea, and the sea was not something that could be shared. Under Queen Callista's rule, Lysandria flourished. The relationship between the city and the ocean deepened. The people learned to read the warnings the sea sent, the changes in current that signaled storms, the behaviors of fish that indicated shifts in weather. They gave offerings of thanks, not of gold or jewels, but of art and song. Music played on the shores that drifted down to the depths. And the sea was generous in return, providing abundant fish, calm waters for sailing, and protection from invaders who did not understand the power of the ocean. Queen Callista established a tradition. Once a year, during the festival of the new moon, the entire city would gather on the shore at sunset. She would lead them in songs of gratitude to the sea, and they would stand in silence, listening to the waves, opening their hearts to the mystery of the depths. And though most of them could not see it, some of the children, those with open hearts and imaginative minds, would catch glimpses of light beneath the waves, of shapes moving in the deep, of a city that existed in two places at once, in the physical world of water and stone, and in the realm of magic and wonder. Callista's hair turned silver with age, her face gained the lines of a life well lived, but her connection to the sea never faded. Even as an old woman, she would make the walk down to the shore each evening, moving more slowly, but with the same sense of purpose. And Nereus, who aged differently in the timeless depths, would be there, looking much as he had when they first met, and they would share the peaceful silence of old friends who need no words. One evening, when Callista was very old and felt the weariness of years in her bones, she sat on her rock and looked out at the sea. The sun was setting in a blaze of crimson and gold, the sky a canvas of fire. The water was calm, barely a ripple disturbing its surface, and the first stars were beginning to appear in the deepening blue above. Nereus appeared beside her, and she smiled at him. "Old friend," she said softly, "I am tired. I have lived a good life, a full life, but I feel it drawing to a close." Confiscated her hand. Every life has its cycle, like the moon, like the tides. There is a time for everything, a time for beginning and a time for ending. "I have a request," Callista said, her voice still strong despite her age. "When the time comes, when I take my final breath, I wish to be laid to rest in the sea, not buried in the ground, but returned to the waves. The sea has been my truest home, and I wish to return to it at the end." "It will be done," Nereus promised. "And more than that, when you return to the sea, you will be transformed one final time. You will become one of us, a true child of Thalassia, and you will live in the sunken city forever, no longer as a visitor, but as one who belongs there completely." Tears filled Callista's eyes, not of sadness, but of joy. "Thank you," she whispered. "That is all I could hope for." And now, dear listener, let yourself rest in this knowledge, that endings are also beginnings, that what seems like loss is often transformation, that the journey continues even when one phase completes. Your breath is so slow now, so deep, so peaceful. Your body is completely relaxed, held and supported. The story is drawing to its close, and you are drawing towards sleep, that blessed state of rest and renewal. Several months later, Queen Callista died peacefully in her sleep, a smile on her lips. The city mourned, for she had been a beloved ruler, but they also celebrated, for her life had been long and meaningful. In accordance with her wishes, her body was prepared and taken to the sea at sunset, not in a coffin, but wrapped in silk the color of ocean foam. The entire city lined the shores as the small boat carried her body out past the rocks. Nereus was there, standing on the water's surface in defiance of natural law, accompanied by dozens of others from Thalassia who had risen from the depths to honor the woman who had bridged their two worlds. As the silk-wrapped form was lowered into the water, the sea began to glow with that familiar silvery light. The people of Lysandria gasped in wonder as the water became luminous, as shapes and structures became visible beneath the surface. Towers and domes, streets and gardens, a city that had been there all along, hidden and waiting. The body did not sink into darkness. Instead, it descended slowly, gracefully, through the glowing water toward the city below. As it descended, the transformation occurred. The silk fell away, and Callista's form became young again, her hair long and flowing, her skin taking on the shimmer of those who lived in the depths. Her eyes opened, seeing clearly in the water, and she smiled as hands reached out to welcome her. Nereus swam to her, and together they descended to Thalassia. The people of the sunken city lined the streets, singing the wordless song of welcome, and Callista swam among them, no longer visitor, no longer observer, but finally, truly, one of them. The vision lasted for several minutes, allowing the people of Lysandria to see the miracle, to understand where their queen had gone. Then, slowly, the light faded, the vision dimmed, and there was only the dark sea and the sky full of stars. But those who had witnessed it never forgot, and the story was passed down through generations, the tale of the queen who loved the sea so much that she became part of it, the ruler who now dwelt in the sunken city beneath the waves, forever young, forever at peace. And so, gentle dreamer, we come to the end of our tale. Queen Callista lives still in the depths, swimming through the gardens of coral, attending the celebrations in the great square, teaching the children of Thalassia about the world above. The sunken city flourishes, hidden from most but always there, always singing its songs for those who know how to listen. Let this story settle into your heart now like sand settling after a wave has passed. Let its peace become your peace, its calm become your calm. Callista found her home beneath the waves, and you have found your home here, in this moment of perfect rest, in this space where the day releases you and sleep welcomes you. Feel your body now, so heavy, so relaxed, so completely at ease. Every muscle has released its holding, every thought has slowed to barely a whisper. Your breath continues its gentle rhythm, in and out, like the tide on a distant shore, constant and soothing and eternal. The ocean holds countless secrets, countless stories, countless worlds within its depths, but it also holds something simple and profound. The rhythm of waves, the constant cycle of ebb and flow, the patient, eternal presence of water that has existed since the beginning of time and will exist until the end. That rhythm is reflected in your own body, in the beating of your heart, in the flowing of your blood, in the breath that moves through you like a current. You are connected to that ancient ocean, even if you never see it, even if you live far from any shore. The water in your body, the salt in your blood, these are reminders that you come from the sea, that all life comes from those depths, that we carry the ocean within us wherever we go. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine yourself floating in warm, calm water, supported completely, held gently. The water rocks you slowly, emotion so subtle you can barely perceive it, but it's there, constant and comforting. Above you, The stars shine in a deep blue sky, each one a tiny light, each one ancient beyond comprehension, each one sending its light across vast distances just to reach you in this moment. You are safe. You are loved. You are exactly where you need to be. The day fall away now, like sand slipping through your fingers, like shells washing back into the sea. Everything that happened today, every word spoken, every task completed, every worry entertained, let it all dissolve into the vastness of the night. Tomorrow will come, as it always does, bringing new moments, new experiences, new things to see and do and be. But that is tomorrow, and tomorrow is far away, on the other side of a long, peaceful night of sleep. Right now, in this moment, there is only rest. There is only the gentle weight of your body sinking into softness, the slow rhythm of your breath, the peaceful darkness behind your closed eyes. There is only the story that has carried you here, like a boat carrying you across calm waters to a distant shore where dreams wait to greet you. Perhaps you will dream of the sea tonight. Perhaps you will dream of swimming through gardens of coral, of seeing fish that shimmer like living jewels, of hearing songs that have no words but speak directly to your heart. Perhaps you will dream of a city beneath the waves, glowing with soft light, filled with kind people who move with grace and speak with wisdom. Perhaps you will dream of something else entirely. Memories from your own life, transformed by sleep into new configurations, or visions of places you have never been, or simple impressions of color and light and feeling. It does not matter. Whatever dreams come, they will come naturally, effortlessly, rising from the depths of your unconscious like bubbles rising through water, and they will play across the screen of your mind while your body rests and repairs and renews itself. The sea is vast, but your bed is safe and warm. The depths are cold and dark, but you are comfortable and protected. The ocean holds mysteries, but you hold peace. You have journeyed through this story, traveled from Lysandria to Thalassia and back again, witnessed transformation and wonder and the power of connection. Now the journey is complete, and it is time to rest. Let your awareness of your body fade now. You need not pay attention to your breathing anymore. It will continue on its own, as it has done every moment of your life without requiring conscious thought. You need not hold on to wakefulness. There is nothing more you need to do, nothing more you need to think about, nothing more you need to be, except exactly what you are: a person at rest, a soul at peace, a body settling into sleep. The story ends, but it also continues, because all stories continue in the hearts of those who hear them. Somewhere, in the part of your mind that holds memories and meanings, this tale will live on. And sometimes, when you see the ocean or hear waves on a shore, or simply gaze up at stars in a night sky, you might remember Queen Callista and her journey to the sunken city, and you might smile, feeling that connection to mystery and wonder and the vast, beautiful world that exists beyond the edges of everyday life. But now, gentle traveler, now it is time to release even these words, to let even this voice fade into the background of your consciousness and then into silence. You have traveled far tonight, through story and imagination, through description and wonder. You have opened your heart to tales of transformation and magic. You have allowed yourself to slow down, to breathe deeply, to release the demands of the waking world. Now you are ready. Ready for sleep, ready for dreams, ready for the deep rest that your body and mind need and deserve. The sunken city rests peacefully in its depths. Queen Callista swims through its gardens, content and at home. The people of Thalassia sleep in their coral dwellings, dreaming their own dreams. And you, dear listener, you too can rest now, can sleep now, can drift into that peaceful darkness where consciousness dissolves and rest takes over. Sleer one, let go completely now. The story is done, the journey is complete, and you have arrived at the shores of sleep. Step onto that shore. Walk into that gentle darkness. Let the waves of sleep wash over you, pulling you down, not into struggle or dream, fear, but into peace, into rest, into the blessed oblivion where healing happens and strength is restored. The sea is eternal. Sleep is eternal. You are held in both. You are part of both. You are safe in both. Expelled. Sleep. Sleep now, and let the waves carry you home. Sleep.